Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now here I am from a group of Hastin, Nursanti Syukur, Reza Abdulillah, and myself, Putri Nurkamaliah, will present about the material, the impact of industrial revolution toward children as reflected in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. First material is about the abstract that will deliver by myself. Okay, this study deals with the impact of industrial revolution toward children as reflected in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. The aim of this study is to find out the negative impact of industrial revolution towards children and how these negative impacts affect children. This study uses qualitative research method and sociology theory of literature in analyze data relates to the description of negative impact of industrial revolution and how this negative impact of industrial revolution affect children as portrayed in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. The result of this analysis shows that there are two negative impacts of the Industrial Revolution toward children in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, namely poverty and child labor. Meanwhile, how do this negative impact of the Industrial Revolution affect children? There are four types. They are children recruitment as criminals, baby farming, children apprentice, and psychical abuse toward children. That's all about the abstract. And the next material is introduction by Reza Abdulillah. Time is yours.
Thank you, Kamal. So the first is introduction. Literature is the result of the wider imagination about the description of human life in society. It means that literature records the real life events from the society and converts these mundane activities into fiction and present them to the society as a mirror in which people may look at their own image. It means that literature is a way for the writer to convey his thoughts, experience, feelings, and ideas about a reality or the real picture around him. It can be concluded that literature is the picture of its written time that reflects an event of human life and its relationship with society based on the experience or imagination of the authors. Literatures and human life are difficult to separate because literary works tell about life, while life is inspiration for a writer to produce literary works like novel. Novel can be stories about the technology, sexual freedom, global warfare, urban chaos, revolutionary technology, romance, fiction, real life, family, horror, social anxiety, are all about phenomena that occur in society. The same case happened in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, which was published in 1838. With the background of the Industrial Revolution that occurred in the Victorian period. Oliver Twist is a story that describes the poor living condition of children in England in the Victorian era. With the background of the Industrial Revolution, who received unfair treatment from the social environment. The Industrial Revolution indirectly changed the order of life from agricultural to machinery, and this was the result of the impact of the Industrial Revolution, which emphasized the negative effects toward the lower classes or workers and force them to commit violations such as crimes that harm themselves and the others. Many changes had taken place quite significantly. Significantly in the fields of technology, manufacturing, mining, and transportation, agriculture, and agriculture. It also had a profound positive and negative impacts of social and negative, economic, political, cultural conditions and around the world. The Industrial Revolution is the process of developing human civilization or the process of economic system that changed from an agricultural system to an industrial system that is driven by machines. It is the same as the Victorian era against the backdrop of the Industrial Revolution as technological and economic advances gained momentum with the development of the steam-powered ships, rails, and later that century. The development of the internal combustion engines and the development of electric power. The writer chooses the Charles Dickens Oliver Twist as the object of the study because it shows how hard the life of an orphan child is to survive in the Industrial Revolution era that threatened his future in following the current development of the times and social demands and new social problem as negative impact of the Industrial Revolution. In the study, the writer analyzes the negative impact of Industrial Revolution towards children and how these negative impacts affect children in the Charles Dickens Oliver Twist. Back to Kamal.
Okay, thank you for Reza, who has delivered the material. And next material about theoretical frameworks will be delivered by our friends Hastin, Nursanti, Syukur. First, Hastin, thank you, yours.
Thank you, Kamal. Next is theoretical frameworks. There are some relevant theories which are used in this study. The first is sociology literature. Sociology literature is a specialized area of study which focuses its attention upon the relation between a literary work and the social structure in which it is created. It reveals that the existence of literary creation has determined social situation, as there is a reciprocal relationship between a literary phenomena and social structure. Sociological study of literature proves very useful to understand the socio-economic situation, political issues, the worldview and creativity of the writer, the system of the social and political organization, the relation between certain thought and cultural configuration in which they occur, and the determinant of literary work. Based on the statement above, theory of sociology of literature helps the writer to understand about the relationship between literary works and social structure, in this case, Oliver Twist novel. So this is revealed that the existence of literary works, it aims to understand social phenomena, socio-economic situation, political issues, worldview, and background of the literary work. Literary work is regarded as the segment of society. Literature written in a certain period of time is directly connected with the norms, custom, and tradition of the day. It means that being a specialized area of literary study is explain the relationship between a literary work and society in which it is created. And the second is poverty. Poverty is a condition that does not support or it is inability to meet basic needs such as food, clothing, shelter, education, and health. It means that poverty is a state of not being able to meet the most basic need in this life, such as lack of food, so that hunger will occur, not having a proper place to live and proper clothing, sick and careless, illiterate and uneducated. Living in poverty is very vulnerable for unexpected event or disaster beyond their control. According to Miller, 2016, in the 19th century, rapid changes in employment, housing, and social welfare brought about major changes in life of the people. The Victorian era was a time of movement and adjustment in which many workers lived in extreme poverty and even died on the city street of starvation. And the next is child labor. It is circumstances in which young people become workers or children work under deplorable conditions and were being exploited by the industrialists. A picture was painted of the dark satanic mill, or where the children as young as 5 and 6 years old work for 12 to 16 hours for a day, 6 days a week without rests for meal in hot, stuffy, poorly lit, overcrowded factories, workers to earn a little as for shilling per week. In economic terms, pay low cost in order to get much income so that the factory owner employ children because they can be paid cheaper and choose and thus children did not have work hour limitation. And the next is exploitation. Exploitation is the arbitrary or excessive use of a person with the aim of personal or group interest without considering justice and compensation for the welfare of victims who are exploited. It means that exploitation is form an act or behavior can become habit and create an imbalance social or physical strength. In Oliver Twist, uh, there are four kind of exploitation that occurs against children during the Industrial Revolution. That is, uh, Reza, next slide, please. The four kind of exploitation that occur in the novel. The first is the recruitment of children as criminals. According to Miller 2016, that some poor Victorian children found that criminal activities made their life easier. Pickpockets were everywhere, snatching food of food vendors, chart, and quickly runaway was often the only method of getting something to eat. Thus, children were asked to rob uh, money, jewels, and many others. If they could not rob many things, they would be punished by the leader, like let them sleep without eating and threaten them so cruelly. And the second is baby farming. In the era of the Industrial Revolution, the number of orphans also increased because many parents died due to accident in the factories. So the orphans taken to Paris's houses, and many women who worked in the factories had to leave their babies to be cared for. Baby farming was very famous business at the time. The nannies were paid by they did not do their job well. They starved the babies, tortured them, and ignored them. And the third is children apprentices. There are many orphanages to accommodate children who were abandoned by their parents because they died or were abandoned because they were unable to care them. Most of the children would be sent to workhouse to work there when they were 10 years old, and some of them were also offered at low prices to become apprentices or slaves, the capitalist classes, or those who ran shop. And the next is physical abuse. Physical abuse is a form of mental abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, or neglect or of children. Most physical abuse occur in the child's own home, orphanage, at school, or in the apartment where the child interact. Next will be presented by my friend. Thank you.
Okay, the next material is about research design, will be delivered by Reza Abdulillah. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Kamal. Okay, the research design. In this study, the writer applied a qualitative descriptive method and library research process based on sociology approach. According to Gay, 1992, descriptive methods involve collecting data in order to test hypotheses or to answer questions concerning the current status of subjects of the study. It means that by using qualitative descriptive method, the writer tries to describe and interpret that the data and relate to the subject in order to get deep data and information about the object by giving detailed data. Information in the study, the writer collected the data to describe the impact of industrial revolution towards children as reflected in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. The data expressed as term, dialogues, phrases, and sentence. The statement of the problem of the study are formulated as first, what a negative impacts of the industrial revolution towards children are reflected in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. Second, how do these negative impacts of industrial revolution affect children portrayed in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist? The data were collected by the writer with the following steps. First, reading Oliver Twist novel reading Oliver Twist novel repeatedly to get an accurate and clear understanding regarding the problem in study. The second, collecting some books that relate with sociology, vocabulary, and internet research. And the third, finding and marking the data relates to the negative impact on industrial revolution towards children in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. And fourth, finding and marking the data explain how these negative impacts of industrial revolution affect children as portrayed in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. And the last, arranging and choosing the data related to the problem of the study. Back to Kamal.
All right, thank you, Reza. And next is discussion, will be explained by me. This study deals with the negative impact of industrial revolution towards children as reflected in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. The data were taken from the text in the novel, and the writer applied qualitative, descriptive, and library research which support the analyzing of this novel. There are two negative impacts of industrial revolution reflected in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. Next slide, Rita, please. there are poverty and child labor. The first one is poverty. This study revealed that the description of poverty in this novel was characterized by family low incomes, food shortages, poor living condition, and poor health. There are poor characterized. The first is poor living condition are part of poverty, and the second is the situation of hunger and destitution is part of poverty too, and the third is poor health, also part of poverty. The growth of children, both physically and mentally, is very influential on the future of these children. But unfortunately, in the Victorian era, with the background of the Industrial Revolution, the condition of the children was very, very worrying. They looked thin and frail and neglected. And the next is low family income makes children worse off and fell into poverty. As the consequence of the low wages that they receive, they have to suffer financial problem. Next is child labor. Child labor are involved in many different forms of work, which include risk and dangerous jobs such as agriculture, mining, manufacture, construction bonded children labor, domestic work. Most of the children in the Industrial Revolution era were made as workers. Every child sent to the orphanage will made as a farmer, so that children in the Industrial Revolution era lost their childhood. With long working hour, food will be restricted, so many of these children starve to death at work. Next, Reja. The effect of the negative impact of industrial revolution affect children in Charles Dickens Oliver Twist. The first is children recruitment as criminals. Both both these impacts certainly affect the children as the effect is that they are exploited and recruited as criminals, baby farming, child apprentices, and physical abuse. That's it for me. Thank you. Next.
Okay, thank you for Reza and Hastin who has delivered the material. The last material I will deliver here, the conclusion. After analyzing the data, the writer draws conclusion and author present the conclusion of the overall analysis. Based on the previous data analysis, the writer came to the following conclusion. There are two negative impacts of the Industrial Revolution toward children reflected in Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. First, poverty was characterized by low incomes, food shortage, poor living condition, and poor health. Second, child labor is characterized by most children at the time working as a farmer, chimney sweepers, picking oakum, shopkeepers, construction workers, and many factories prefer to employ children because they can be paid lower wage even if they work very long hours, so that children lose their childhood. Regarding the negative impact of the industrial poverty and child labor, both of these impacts affect the children exploited by the way children recruitment as criminals, baby farming, child apprentice, and psychical abuse. That's all about the presentation today. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.